So rewriting URLs would be something that you most likely be doing when you are still writing traditional PHP based applications. So what I refer to as traditional PHP based applications are, I mean, the LAMP stack, that's Linux, uh, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So when you're writing some of these smaller web sites or web apps that are hosted on shared hosting, on shared hosting rather, you most likely will be rewriting URLs via your htaccess. Uh, so the reason people usually do, there were two reasons why people were doing this. So one of these is, or why people still do this. One of it is that you can make your URLs cleaner, and then the second one for search engine optimization. But to be frank, that is bullshit. There's nothing there's nothing search engine optimized about rewriting your URLs to the other. I don't want to even talk about it, but that is just it's rubbish. So now I myself, outside having URLs that are clean according to some people, why I do like to rewrite my URLs is just for so that the visitor does not know the technology on which the with which the platform was built. Now, if you visit a website or a web application whose back end was built with Node.js or Go, for instance, you wouldn't know what it was built with because you just enter the URL, you enter a particular path without a file extension, and then you are served a response. But on PHP, what you'll be doing most times is, for instance, if you want to go to in the services, you enter services.php, and then what it's returned is the context of services.php. And if you leave it by default, if you enter, for instance, slash services, it's going to return a 404 error. So that's the reason I do not want the visitor of the application to know the technology on which it is built. And I think, though it is trivial, most security experts wouldn't really see this as a consideration. But I think it also helps in the aspect of security because if you don't know the technology on which the platform was built, then planning or orchestrating an attack would be actually more difficult. So I have so on my local machine here, it's a Windows machine. It's the same thing you can do it on Linux. But I wanted to do it on Linux because it's usually quick and easier. But my Linux desktop is currently very busy. Now, what you do, so I have several virtual hosts for several applications I'm working on. So for this particular tutorial, or what should I call it, information, whatever, I'll create a new virtual host. Let me just copy. Okay, let me copy this one. I'll copy the one I have here to uh let me put it here. Good. And now if you come to this so in my I already created a directory where I'm going to host I haven't created the files that I'm going to use for this sort of demonstration. You can see the file part here in htaccess, right? Whatever. So if I come to my configuration, I'd have to change this. Now, the server root is something that's already been defined in HTTP configuration. Let me take it here. You can see it here. So it is defined as C Apache 24. So if I come here, so I already have C Apache 24 here, then htdocs, and then the uh the folder there is ht accessory. Hope I'm not making any mistake. Okay, I'm also going to change this to uh ht. Yes. Now this directory directive here is to allow override. So it's to allow for our htaccess to be able to override certain rules that are already certain defaults already have. Now in your web hosting, in your shared hosting, your platform is going to set this up for you, but it's not going to use allow override all. Rather, it's going to list the options. It's gonna list the options that you can override. Okay. So I put that at the back of your mind. And then after this, would have to. So now what I'm doing here is port-based virtual hosting. So you can also do a domain name-based virtual hosting. In fact, when I was looking, I was actually I tried to do domain name, but I just know let me just do a port-based virtual hosting. So if you want to do that, you need your host file and uh you have to define them. You have to make sure those domains they are pointing to your local host in your host file. In your Windows environment, Linux, you do the same thing. So now we we already have this defined. Then let's go into our HTTP configuration. So we also have to let Apache to know that it should be listening on port 8092, which we have defined for these our virtual hosts. Okay, we have to let Apache know that. And yeah, we have everything it takes to start. So let's restart. Now, now after restarting, you can see that our pages are loading, services loads. So if I go to the index is loading, okay. But now if I come to dot, so let's remove the PHP for instance, and then go. You can see it's returning in 404. Now the first thing I want to do would be when someone enters a path like this, without the file extension, we should return the file with that particular name and the PHP extension. So what I mean here is if someone enters, for instance, slash services.php should be returned slash product.php. The contents of product.php should be returned. And that is the first thing that we are going to do in our URL rewrites. I'll go with, so I'll first of all define a .ht access. Now, before we embark on that, if you're on your local environment, you have to first of all go into your HTTP configuration and check if the rewrite module is enabled, because by default, if you install Apache by default, I think the rewrite module wouldn't be loaded. So let's go okay, yeah. So if you install Apache by default, this will be commented out. So you have to uncomment this line. Otherwise, your rewrite wouldn't be possible. Just for them to say that. Now, the first thing we'll do, let's check if the rewrite module is enabled, because that is only when these rules will become useful. If rewrite module, if module rewrite module is enabled, if module, okay, and then we'll say let's rewrite ng. Let's turn on write ng on, and then rewrite base. Rewrite base. Let's set our write base to this, because you might have problems where instead of I don't want to I don't want to go into that, but just make sure the base is the current directory that the htaccess file is hosted. That's where your write base is, the root directory of your virtually hosted application. So now to achieve that, what I mentioned earlier, we'll have to use a regular expression to match. Now we'll start by creating the rewrite true. Now match every character. I wouldn't just use every character. I will use like a word. Let's just say match a word. Okay. uh, start of a string, let's say start of a string, and then match a word or with a hyphen. So we are assuming that our file names will be either a word or a file. So a word in range, you should know ranges, regular expressions. A word is either your alphabet, lower or uppercase, numbers or underscores, and then one or more of these, and then and now here we have a capture group. Here we have a capture group. So this $1 here represents these capture group. So anything that is anything that is matched here, we are going to have it here. And then we add the extension dot php, and then we ask it to stop further rewrite by using these initials, this L, which means last. And now if we go, it should work now. Oh, there is an internal server error, meaning we must have made some mistakes in our rewrite. Oh, rewire, rewrite through. It's supposed to be rewrite through. Why is it showing not found? Did we miss anything in our regular expressions? Slash W, a word, or a hyphen? The regular expression was even wrong. So we have a word. It's supposed to be in our square brackets, not curly brackets. Sorry. Yes. And I think this should work. Uh, yeah. So you can see that when we go with services, it's it sets us services.php. If we go with product, we have product, the content of product.php is saved. And if we also go with this, it returns product.php services dot php. So this is the first thing. Now, what we want here is, like I said, like I don't want the user of the application to know if it's a PHP application or not. So if he does this, he would probably think, yeah, I think this should be a PHP application with this sort of file extension. So what I want to do is when he enters product.php, I want to redirect to product. If he enters users so services.php, I want it to be redirected to services. How do I do that? I would have to create another rule, rewrite, rewrite URL, another rewrite rule. And that is, we are going to match, okay, we are going to match a word. So I'm just assuming that our file names, the file names that we are using, our files and folder names are words and hyphens. So we are not using any other characters apart from words, characters, and hyphens. And I already told you what a word is in a regular expression. And just to mention, we are using a Perl kind of regular expression here, not JavaScript. You're going to see that in a moment. So if you come here, so if we have a file that ends a word, one or more characters, and then it ends with dots, there is a dot, uh, PHP. So these dots, we have to escape it. It's a special character. So a group of words, like something like a file name or a request URL, and then the PHP extension. We want to rewrite it just to return $1. But in this case, redirect, and let it also be the last rule, but then redirect the browser with an arrow, with a stereo to so redirect the browser to uh redirect the browser. Now, look, this is an issue. I made it. You will see that there will be sort of an infinite redirect here. But let me just explain. So what I'm doing with this rule is that when the user enters, for instance, product.php, I'm going to capture just this part, and then the .php, the .php part, I'm going to ignore it. That's why I'm using this $1, and then I'm going to redirect the user so that the new request will be just uh, products. Okay, so if it's product.php, after redirecting with this rule, it's going to be products. If it is services.php, after redirecting with this rule, it's going to be services. Okay, now let's do that and see what happens. If we load, there's an error, most likely typo. What's the typo this time? Should there even be a space here? Hope my okay. Uh there should also be this dollar to close end, which means end of a string match. So there's an issue here. You can see error too many redirects. And if we go and inspect our network tab, so let's do it again. Why is it not recording? Clear network. So I want it to record, yes. Or why is our network tab not recording? I think it's because, yeah. So you can see. So it started with product. So what is happening here is that when it gets to, when we enter this product.php, it's going to be matched here. Then it's going to create a new request without redirecting the user. So it's going to remove the .php extension. Sorry, it's going to add the .php extension without redirecting the user and then make a new request. And then this request will be captured by this rule because there is now a .php extension at the back. And then it's going to remove it and then redirect to this redirect again after removing the PHP extension, meaning in the next redirect, we are going to be capturing ticks. So the problem is why is it that on the network tab you only have product but not product.php? The reason is that uh, in the case when it is product.php, for instance, we are redirecting with a serial. So we are asking the browser to follow the redirect. While in this other case, we are not asking the browser to follow the redirect. That is when the request comes without a file extension. We are not asking the browser to follow the redirect, but when it comes with a file extension, we are asking the browser to redirect. That is why we continuously have just a product of PHP. Now, how do we solve this? Now, the way we solve this is we can let we can let so we can let this guy know. We have to let this guy know that yes, this request is from a rewrite. So by doing that, if we do that, if we let it know that this request is from a rewrite, when it comes with .php, when there's a request with .php with a particular, so you are going to append, sorry, you're going to append sort of a query string. And when this record comes with this query string, the user should what? The it should be redirected. So I will go with. So what I will do here is, so I'm going to redirect and then I will add a query string. Rewrite. I'll just call it rewrite row equals to, let me just use anything. Yes. So after I do that, here I'm then going to intercept this here with a rewrite condition. So the rewrite condition is going to check check for a particular condition. So this rule is only going to execute with this rewrite condition, and that condition is going to be the right condition percent uh query string is to a query string is equals to nine. Which a query string is not okay. A beginning and so sometimes the query string, because this initial request might also come with some query string, so we don't want to be missing those query strings. So it could be the beginning, so the query string could be at the beginning, or the ones that follows an and. When there is a list of query string, it's only the first one that is not being preceded by an ampersand. So we're going to be this, and then rewrite rule equals to yes, and then it could also follow, meaning there can be another query string uh at the end, and then finally the end of the match. So when we have this condition, do not redirect. So this one, so if it comes with this .php and the extension is removed, the .php extension is removed in this first instance, and then it gets here, and then the .php extension is added, but this time there is a rewrite rule equals to yes. So when we do this, it's then going to come back here. But this time, because we now have the rewrite rule set to yes as a query string, this particular line is not going to execute. So let's go. Let's try it now. Hopefully the redirection issue is resolved. You can see if I go product, it works. And then if I go product.php, you can see that I've been redirected to product, and then it works. So with this, the user wouldn't be able to know if this is a PHP application or not, because when I use .php, the extension is removed. So this is just the basic. There are other things that you can do, but this is just the basic, and this is just what I wanted to share. By the way, how many of you still use PHP? Oh, sorry. How many of you are still being used by PHP 2025?